Boom! What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the last Friday in July. July is done already, y'all. Um, Thank you guys. You could be anywhere. It's summertime, but you're here chilling with us on the Kenny Parker Show. Big up to the ER crew, the early regulars in the building. Spook Realm 4Q, you are back to being number one on the check-in. Um, so let's jump right in. Matter of fact, before we jump in, let me adjust this a little bit. Yes, so let's you know the rules, you know the PSA. Rule number one, get the book. My brother's name is Kenny. For those that's new to the channel, get the book. My brother's name is Kenny. My brother's name is Kenny. It's the true origin story of BDP. The link is in the description below. Rule number two is get shirts are ready to go. Thanks to everybody who has already bought a shirt. Thank you so much. The logo is that. I can't get my finger. That logo up there is on the shirts. They're ready to go now. The link is in the description below. Hit the like button. I think I'm going to stop saying hit the like button for a while and see what happens. A lot of people have not hit the like button. So I think if I don't say anything, maybe they'll hit the like button. We'll see. And last but not least, big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. Let me get some shouts real quick. B-Ball Jones and what up? Wait a minute. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see. Kenneth Smith, what up? Supreme Divine, what up? Henry Cedillo, what up? KP, 30 years ago yesterday, Tribe dropped their fourth album, Beats, Rhymes, and Life. People don't seem to like as much as the previous two classics, but I still thought it was solid. No, it was solid. I thought it was solid. I just felt like sonically it took a different turn. They went more with the Jay Dilla slack, that what they called the Uma. I think that was Jay Dilla, Ali Shaheed Muhammad, Q-Tip, as opposed to mostly Q-Tip on the first three albums. Different sound. Um, but nonetheless, shout out to Tribe, Rock and Roll Hall of Famers. So proud of those guys, man. And as you guys know, that's my favorite group. Rosmel, what up? Gregory Nettis, what up? MMA Crossfire, what up? Wow, the Menendez brothers are still in jail. Their parole has been denied. Wow, I thought some new evidence came out that was gonna put a new light on their case. I thought for sure they were gonna get out. Wow. Um, MMA says I'll be watching from the road, but just ordered my XL T-shirt from the Kenny Parker Show. Thank you so much. Um, yes, B-Ball says everyone ordered their T-shirt. I hope so too. But just time, the shirts aren't going anywhere. Um, Sydney Rhodes, what up? Ilroy the MC, what up? David Alston, Kenny Scoob and Scrap Lover said they always was dancing in Latin Quarter. Did you ever meet them? I saw Scoob like 2 weeks ago in Brooklyn in the street. Yes, I met Scrap. I didn't know Scrap that well. Met him a couple times, but Scoob Lover, my brother, that's my man. Seen him a billion times out and about. Absolutely. Not in the quarters though, afterwards. Jason Wall, what up? Um, I want to say this real quick. I just got in like an hour ago, y'all, from watching the new Spider-Man movie, Brand New Day. And I have been, over the years, extremely disappointed in the movies that Marvel has put out, both on television and in the movie theaters. And I think the last Marvel movie that I truly enjoyed was the last Spider-Man, No Way Home. And so I just, after the Fantastic Four, which I was very disappointed in a few months ago, I was just like, I think I really just don't know. And so I said, but I gotta go see Spider-Man. It's been 4 years, 5 years. So I went in there. No spoiler alert for Marvel fans. If you haven't seen it, get your coins together. That's all I'm gonna say. Yo, they gave me everything that I needed. And it's been a minute since I can say that about a Marvel movie. They are not playing with this Spider-Man, y'all. Go see it, go see it, go see it. You will not be disappointed. Okay. Um, Humor, does your agent ever submit you for jobs scoring movies or creating movies for TV shows? I do not have an agent that solicits my music, so it's just been a matter of me soliciting myself. That being the case, I've done commercials for I've done four Nike commercials, music for four Nike commercials over the years. Um, have I done anything? I've never done anything for a movie, but Nike commercial for sure. Let's see. Imperial J, the MC. Haven't seen you in a while. Um, Dwight says, "Hey Kenny, you say you don't understand summertime shy. It's when a bunch of Chicagoans get together and enjoy the food, rich history, and architectural standpoint of Chicago." Um, I didn't say I didn't understand it. I just had no idea what it was. Like all I hear is summertime shy. What exactly is summertime shy is the question. So it's when a bunch of Chicago people get together. So is that like could it be like a New York shy, a Philly shy, a New York get together, or Philly get together, or LA get together? Is it like the same thing? Cutie pie, what's up, yo? Um, Rock Justice Hip Hop, what up? Jack Swagger, what up? The Real Chef Daddy, what up? MK Ultra, what's up? A lot of people in here already. Today in hip hop history, Brother Ali was born. Wow. Shout out to Brother Ali. Of all the interviews I did, promoting the book, uh, Brother Ali, me and him did a long interview. It was the best interview I've ever done in my life with him. Shout out to Brother Ali, super dope dude. Dre Stack Dollars, what up? CMC in the place to be, what's up? Um, Blue Chips said, what's good, Kenny? Just tapping in. Thank you for tapping in. Robert Trowell, what up? We got a lot of regulars in here today. Sweet Goldilocks, what's up? Uh, Bebo Joseph said logo over the other shoulder. Well, for me, it's over this shoulder. MK Ultra says book number one is My Brother's Name is Kenny. Book number two, Where Your Brother? That's funny. That'd be I've heard that question so many times. That would be the nice title for a book. Uh, let's see. Let me scroll down a little bit. Rod Justice at Kenny Parker. Don't talk about Spider-Man. I am not. I'm just saying go. Jack Swagger says No Way Home was dope. I loved No Way Home. Loved. And I went into this one hoping to give me something close to that, at least. I was not disappointed. I got superhero movie fatigue. I kind of got fatigue because the movies aren't good. I don't know if you have fatigue. It's the movies are terrible, and the price of ticket prices are ridiculous for terrible movies, man. I hear you, Jason Wall, but I implore you to go see this one. And I've seen all of them just about. Have you ever met the Latin Rascals? No, I have not. Lindell Handy Sr. says, KP, good evening here, getting this money till midnight. Get your money, man. Rod Justice says, I go to the movies the Tuesday after they come out. Yeah, I think they have specials on Tuesday, or is it Wednesday? Um, and let me say this too. First of all, the movie was practically, they're all sold out now around where I'm at. Um, right up there to me with the wackest people in the world are people who talk in the movie theater and when it's quiet try to yell out something just trying to be funny. You're not funny, you're stupid and immature. And there were some youngsters, looked like they were like 13 years old, a few of them in the movie theater just saying stupid stuff and other people yell at them to shut up, and it just takes away from the movie. They was acting so childish, man. And they're right up there to me as some of the most annoying people in the world, right up with paparazzi. Rid One said, just seen the 2KP, no spoiler alert. I'm not saying a word. I'm just saying go. Mike Rock says, after Endgame, MCU has been ass. Donkey. Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Um, I think the only one I loved after MCU was Spider-Man No Way Home. I thought Black Panther 2 was all right. Thought it was all right with Namor. Thought it was all right. I didn't like anything else. Like not even close. Not even like it was cool. I despised everything. Can't believe they did that. Spook Realm says, so the Hulk is finally the Hulk again? I don't know. Philly She said, Marvel ain't messing up with Spider-Man. Well, that's Spider-Man 3 that turned somewhere else, but besides that, you mean the rainy Spider-Mans from Tobey Maguire? Um, yeah, that I didn't care for that one either. The first two was spectacular. That third one was weird. With the him having a different personality because of the other black suit, alien suit, whatever, that was stupid to me. I didn't really care for the then they rebooted it with the other Spider-Man. Uh, Forgot his name. He was okay, but I thought the stories were stupid. And Jamie Foxx's Electro, all that was stupid to me. But the Tom Holland Spider-Mans, the one with Mysterio to me was kind of weak, but the other ones were dope. People says night commercials must pay well. Well, this was like 25 years ago, but yeah, the money was decent. Yeah, yeah. Thanos beating the Hulk, that was a bunch of BS. No, well, short trades. Thanos had an infinity ring too. First of all, Thanos, they wanted to really show you how powerful Thanos was because when he beat the Hulk down like that, first of all, he killed Loki. He killed, what's his name? Heimgald. Heimgald. He killed both of them, beat Hulk to a pulp, was about to kill him, and Thor sent him back to Earth and saved his life, and he damn near killed Thor. They just let you know just how powerful the greatest villain of all time in Marvel history, Thanos, was. But I could see him beating the Hulk because he had actual training. Hulk was just wild swinging. Thanos had training, and keep in mind he had how many he already had one Infinity Stone, so he was very powerful. I didn't have a problem with that. I had a problem with uh I had a problem with the Hulk never coming back to being the Hulk. But Jack Swagger, you're spoiling it, so I'm not gonna put your comment up. KP, do you remember leg one and leg two MC Light's dancers? Of course I do. I've seen MC Light perform a bunch of times. I never met them, but I remember them for sure. Patrick Y, what up? Wow. Jason Wall says I saw Len Bias play in person in '85. That's dope. My homeboy played against Len Bias. My man John went to Virginia. He said that's the best player he ever played against in his life. And he played in the ACC in the '80s, so he played against everybody. Did I just see members of Tribe and Steezo My Turn video? I don't remember that video like that. Ilroy just ordered the shirt. Thank you so much, Ilroy. Much appreciated. Movie ticket prices are what concert tickets used to cost. Yeah, remember back in the day, $25 could get you like 8 groups in an arena. Hell yeah. That's a good one, Patrick. Why, hell yeah. These prices of everything is so ridiculous, man. Just in the past 5 years, everything is like double. Rosmel said the Sony Spider-Man movies haven't been that great to me. Well, the first two I thought were great with Tobey Maguire, and then after that they haven't been that good. But I like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Jason Wall says I haven't seen a movie in a theater since Halloween 2018. Damn, Jason Wall. I used to go to the theater practically every week. Back in the '90s, 2000s, I was anytime I wanted to see something, I was there going. Spent a lot of money in the movie theater. Um, but the movies got whacker. Everything is a remake. I was watching the previews. I got to the movie early, so I sat there and watched the previews. If they showed 8 previews, 6 of them was remakes of something, or some franchise. There's nothing out, bro. Terrible. Yeah, Icon Poet says, as a writer, I can look at these movies and tell that nobody proofread the script. And it seems like people who make it the sequels didn't watch the previous movie. And these script writers get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to write this script. And then other executives who get paid millions oversee all of this. And then they go and they have guys like Kevin Feige and all these guys oversee it to make sure it coincides with the whole vision of the MCU. And it's a whole big production. They spend hundreds of millions making it. And I'm looking at this like, you really thought this was dope? You had the Fantastic Four, a household name in comic books, and this is what you came with. They ruined every Fantastic Four movie. The experts, these people who are experts, they're not that good, man. And I say this all the time on this channel. Entertainment is the only place where you could be 20%, 10% success rate, and people consider you a mogul and historic. 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, there's nothing else on earth you could do at a 20, 30% rate except hit a baseball is 30%. Hit a baseball and be considered good. First, anything else you did at 20, 30%, you'd be fired. Marvel's been horrible. And it's almost shocking because it's like the same people who made this. I can't believe it. And forget that if Marvel's struggling, the DC universe is struggling. If it wasn't for Batman, they seem to get it right. Everything else is a disaster. That Supergirl was a disaster. Did anybody see Supergirl? That 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 must have cost 100 million, 150 million. Unbelievable. Broken Wookie said, I walked out on the movie Spy Hard. I did not see that. I took potato chips to a movie when I was a youngster. Bad move. Yo, I snuck chicken from the chicken place into a movie before. Like like chicken with hot sauce in the movie. Straight ignorance. Final Destination is the scariest movie I've seen in a movie theater. The first one was scary as shit. What was the last time I was scared? I thought the movie Signs, remember that? When they was like, there's an alien and the little kids saw him, and they say, wait, we got him on camera. And the camera was shaky, and then they was like, they showed him just walk past like that. I was like, oh, I mean, that's the last time I was scared. Yeah. And that was like 20 something years ago. Ross Mel said, I loved Black Panther too. I thought it was okay. Black Panther 1 was incredible. Andre says Endgame wasn't that good either. After Infinity War, it was all trash. Now I rock with Endgame. I mean, everybody has their own opinion. I thought first of all, I consider Infinity War and Endgame like one thing, one continuous thing. I loved Endgame. The world loved Endgame. It was the biggest for a minute. It was the biggest movie of all time. And then Avatar went and cheated and put Avatar back. They put Avatar back in the theaters so it can get a little more money to go back over Avengers Endgame. But the world loved Avengers Endgame. The proof is in the money. Um, I have not seen Odyssey yet. Nobody spoiled it for me, but that's doing really well too. I'm gonna probably see that in the next few days. Um, but Endgame and Infinity War, I loved. I loved the first Avengers was dope to me. I didn't like the Avengers with the robot. The second Avengers. I forgot the name of it. With the robot. I thought that was whack. Philly, she said Andrew Garfield. Yeah, I could not get his name. I thought he was a good Spider-Man. I just thought that the plot was. Rosmel said Thanos beat the Hulk in the comics. I did not know that, but I could see why. Silver Surfer needs his own movie. I would agree with that if they're gonna make it dope. Like this last Fantastic Four, they had a woman Silver Surfer. Like what is going on, bro? Rod Justice says, Kenny Park, you would not say what you are saying about Thanos if you saw Dr. Doom pull out Thanos' spine. I did not see that. I'm saying the greatest villain on television, in the movies that I've seen in the MCU so far. I'm not going to say he's the best villain ever. I'm saying in the MCU, for what we've seen so far, I thought Thanos is the scariest villain so far. I thought Loki was dope in Avengers too. See, to me, I gotta feel like the hero is in real danger. Once Disney got real control of these movies and they started making them for kids, it just got stupid. Like you gotta really believe that your hero really could take a L for real. And that's what made the Avengers so dope. Because to beat Thanos, like 6 or 7 heroes that we knew had to go. Loki, Heimdall, Black Widow, Iron Man. I hope I'm not spoiling it for anybody who hasn't seen it. Iron Man. Um, what's the red guy with the Infinity Stone in his head who was dating the Scarlet Witch? I can't remember his name. He had to go. That's six. And I'm probably forgetting somebody. Like Thanos really was ending people. That's why I liked it. So child, thank you so much once again. You always come through. Thank you. Said, man, damn, all of them. I want to see a Luke Cage movie done the right way, and I'm not talking about no scrappy throw out like Netflix did. Yeah. Shout out to KRS One BDP for being in Luke Cage. BDP was all over Luke Cage because KRS One did a song. D Nice is DJing in it, an episode, and Heather B and Sway is in an episode. So BDP is all over Luke Cage. And I saw Luke Cage outside walking down the street. I think I mentioned that on this channel. The actor. I was gonna say what's up to him, but he looked like he didn't want to be bothered, so I kept it moving. But I would like to see there's potential in so many of these characters. Matter of fact, too, I don't like Daredevil either. The first Daredevils that was on Netflix was dope. This Daredevil that they put out now, I'm not a fan. It's more less about Daredevil and more about Matt Murdock. It should be called Matt Murdock Born Again. Mediocrity to me. But Luke Cage had potential in the beginning, then it got ridiculous to me. You know what bothers me about superheroes? Even this latest Spider-Man had for a second where what bothers me, I guess they call it the continuity of powers. Like in one moment, a superhero could get hit by something or in a fight and seem like this doesn't hurt him at all. And then the next moment, something that's not even as powerful as this hurts him and he's like in mortal danger. And I'm like, well, does he have this power or not? You know what I mean? Like, it seems like it's not a balance. It's like the superhero can get hurt when it's good for the plot, I feel. Um, Let me jump down a little bit. Hey, Tracy. Philly She said, until you said Supergirl, I didn't even know that joint dropped. Imagine that. They spent hundreds of millions on promotion. That movie was doomed from the start. Nobody wants the Supergirl. They didn't even build up the Supergirl. They just threw Supergirl out there like that. Not good, man. And I'm trying to say these are the best. These supposed to be the best in the business at what they doing. And this is what y'all did. This is what the best of the best. This is what they're putting out. Thank you, Rosmel. Vision. I could not remember his name. I'll be bugging on here sometimes. I can't remember names. Um, let's see. Somebody just said Loki was a villain. Yeah, Loki was a villain that Thanos killed, but by the time it got to the Avengers, him and Thor were kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like he's sneaky, but his arc seemed like he was coming around to being like, you know, not a hero, but down. You know what I mean? And Thanos ended him. And that's what I think made Spider-Man No Way Home so good because Aunt May, we wasn't ready for Aunt May. Like I was like, oh, she's really gone. And uh what's his name? The Green Goblin was dope in that too. That actor that plays the Green Goblin, he got that to the T. I thought that was dope. Um, Patrick White used to sneak. 40s into the movie theater. Funniest thing is when someone actually kicked the empty bottle and you hear it roll down the aisle. Those were the days. Three karate flicks for $5. Yes. I remember living in Brooklyn in the 80s in Bed-Stuy on Fulton Street. There used to be a movie theater that had karate movies for $2, old karate movies for $2. But the place was so run down that, first of all, you would never buy any popcorn or nothing from in there. But there was rats in the movie theater. So instead of getting an exterminator, the movie theater put cats in the movie in there. So now there was no more rats, but there's cats all over the place. So you sit there watching karate flick, and there's cats walking on the chairs and cats over. He's like, what the hell? $2. Yeah, those were the days, man. I remember when I was in college, I had a homeboy who worked at the movie theater. Oh my goodness, we was in there for free. We would go there, and if we saw him, we was good. And I would go to the movie theater early and stay in there and watch like 3 movies. Damn, remember them days? Silk Child, yes, once again. I love KRS and Rakim and Luke Cage. I'm talking about they need to do an original story, period, and introduce him right in the story as well. Yeah, they would have to do it in there's been 2 Luke Cages now, so I guess they would have to do it officially in the movies. I don't know if he's a big enough character to have his own movie. I guess like they would have to do a Daredevil movie, I guess, and kind of bring him along. I don't know how they would do it, but that would be, don't hold your breath for that one. Um, I just jumped over a bunch of comments. Rosmel said Black Panther 1 was a great as a political movie, but as a superhero movie, it was underwhelming. I thought everything about it was dope, Rosmel. Whatever you call it, I thought it was dope. And it did 1 billion as a standalone movie. Not no Avengers in there, just him, and did 1 billion. That means people loved it. I thought it was great. Rid One said the original The Fly movie is good. You mean the one from the 50s? Or the one from like the 80s? When you say the original, both of them was dope. The one from the 50s was crazy. I saw that as a kid a few times. Uh, Joey Joe says, don't spoil it for me, Kenny. I haven't seen new Spider-Man. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying go. Just go. And I'm saying this is coming from a person who has been very disappointed in Marvel. Extremely disappointed. Go see that one. Oh, shoot. Brooklyn Geek said, I met Tom Holland a few years back. My man stood and signed autos for about 15 minutes after appearing on Colbert's show. That's dope, Brooklyn Geek. You met Tom Holland. That's dope. I would have been excited for that. Carl says Loki has his redeeming moments for sure. Yeah, you can't trust Loki though. But they look at the end of the Loki was down with Thanos in the beginning. At the end of the day, Thanos killed him. So, but I'll never trust Loki. But he has his moments. Um, yeah, the first Wonder Woman was good, but the more recent campy one was terrible. Wonder Woman 2 was horrible. The first one was good, and it did big numbers. You could tell word of mouth sells a lot of movies too. And two things makes a movie big: word of mouth and repeat viewers. So you can tell when a movie has good word of mouth and people see them twice by the numbers. When these movies do 1 billion, it's not like each one time a person saw 1 million people saw it once or something. It's multiple people seen it 8 and 7, 9 times. That first Wonder Woman was good, and I thought that was the start of something. Then they dropped the ball, man. Broken says, I Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. I saw that in the movies. Awful. They haven't gotten Superman right. Benny Doyle Kenny, Silence of the Lambs trivia. What was the anagram for Lewis Friend? Come on, Benny Doyle. I told you I've seen Silence of the Lambs approaching 100 times. Fool's Gold. I'm insulted, Benny Doyle. Demetrius says Chicago tapping in the building. I'm kind of not far behind because I jumped a bunch of comments. Let me go back a little bit. Yeah, hype style, I like this. The movies haven't been have been extremely inconsistent when it comes to portraying Spider Sense for Spider-Man. I agree. He is not supposed to be surprised by anything unless he has been specially poisoned. I agree with that. Um, his spider senses sometimes it's so accurate that makes you feel like how can, and even if somebody doesn't like him, it's supposed to go off when he's in danger, but it's to the point where he can sense things like even when Doctor Strange knocked his soul out of his body and was trying to take back that box, and his spider sense was moving the box. And he wasn't even in his body. Like it's that fine tuned. And then other times it's not. You are correct about that. They need to make sure they use it when it's good for the plot. You are correct about that. Icon said another thing they keep trying to make things woke that are already woke. Star Wars, Star Trek comics all dealt with issues. They don't need to be this modern woke. Sometimes they force. They do. I'm all for social commentary, but sometimes they force it. Thank you, Rosmel. William Defoe. Damn. Jack Swagger says William Defoe looks like the Green Goblin without the mask. He does. That was sometimes, you know what, too? The casting directors of these movies, casting agents, whatever you call them, are very, very important. And every once in a while, a casting director really gets spot on. I think William Defoe as the Green Goblin is spot on. You're right. He looks like the Goblin even without the mask. I think J. Jonah Jameson is spot on too. Um, that doll scene in Tales from the Hood was scary with that racist politician. Actually, Tales from the Hood on the low was dope to me. That's one of them cult classic, the modern black exploitation movies. I guess there was like a second run, not the 70s. It was like the 70s black exploitation. Then there was like a late 90s, early 2000s run. I thought Tales from the Hood. I liked a few of those stories, but yeah, that when the puppets were coming off the wall, that the dolls, that was dope. I like that a lot. Rid One said Fright Night. Yo, Rid One. Fright Night. I saw that in the movie. Are you talking about which Fright Night are you talking about? The original one from 85? Or the one that came out maybe like 10 years ago? I like that one, but the original one from 85. And my girl from Married with Children, Marcy Darcy, was the female lead in that Fright Night. That one was dope. That's one of my favorite vampire movies, Rid One. You got one off right there, Rid One. That was my shit. Hey Boogie, I remember dudes smoking woolly blunts in the Flatbush movie theater. Yo, I've been going to movie theater since I was a little kid. We lived in Flatbush. We lived by Vanderveer. Me and Chris saw on Flatbush, we saw King Kong and we saw Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. I think we saw Sinbad. We saw three movies there. We saw Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. Let's Do It Again with JJ and King Kong on Flatbush. This is in the 70s. And when we came out of Let's Do It Again, this dude tried to rob my boy. It was three of us. My next door neighbor, me and Chris went to the movie theater. When we came out, this older dude tried to rob us. I'll never forget it, man. Lindell says KP, three movies for $1.75 back in the day, Chicago. Dope, man. Bring that back, man. They need to do a BDP movie. Absolutely, they do. PBNYC says classic. What's classic? I didn't see your comment. Oh, here you go. I recently watched The Blues Brothers, a great movie. Aretha Franklin, James Brown, Ray Charles. Yeah. Movies used to be so. I hate being that old guy. I hate being the guy. Back in my day, things were so much better. You young kids just don't know. I hate being that guy, but I'm really that guy. We had so many dope movies. Those kung fu matinees in NYC is what inspired the Last Dragon movie, which I saw in the movies too. The Last Dragon. Joe Joseph's KRS is working on a movie. I'm not familiar with which one that is, but uh, but the one says 80s The Fly. Never seen the 50s. Yeah, the 50s one is the original one. I think that's creepier than the 80s one. The original Fly is crazy. Broken Wookiees. Kenny, did you ever meet Mr. Magic? Yes. And I implore you to get the book. The link is in the description below. I go into great detail about that whole Juice Crew situation. But yes, I met Mr. Magic, but years later, like in the 90s, I met Magic in like 93, 94. So this had to be like 6 years after the beef. And he was mad cool with me anyway. Question says between J. Cole, Future, and Kendrick, who would you produce a whole album for? I think my music and J. Cole, his production probably to me would go better with my music. Future definitely not, because I don't do trap music like that. Kendrick would be great. J. Cole to me would go along with me. Um, KP, do you remember when rapper Willie D boxed fellow hip hop legend Melly Mel in the famous 1992 celebrity charity boxing match? Yes, I believe Willie D beat him, right? And shout out to Bumpy Knuckles. He beat like two people that day. The Exorcist still holds up as the scariest movie ever made. There can be an argument. Everything is subjective in art. But PBB, there could be a very good argument that yes, Exorcist is the scariest movie ever. Absolutely. I was too young to see that in the movie theaters. But um what was I gonna say? I was too young to see the movie theater, but I saw it on VHS a bunch of times. Y'all remember that movie The Thing, John Carpenter? That was scary to me. Divine Existence says, Peace, KP. Yeah. Spider Man Brand New Day is actually my favorite live action Spider Man flick now. Back to basics and nice payoffs. I love that review, and there's no spoilers here, so I'm not going to say anything except I concur. Divine Existence. Get your coins together, y'all. Benny Dawes says, damn, Kenny, iron sulfide, fool's gold, impressive. It's not because I'm particularly great with anagrams. I just saw that movie a million times. Robot Scott says Spider-Man has definitely been surprised. Yeah, too surprised for his power. Yeah. What do you think about Spider-Man Noir with Nicolas Cage? I didn't watch that. Uh, let's see. Carl said, "So you're saying the new Spider-Man is worth going to see in the theaters, KB?" Maybe I'm saying it too much, but I just saw it like a couple hours ago. Um, yes, I am saying that. And I'm saying movies are not worth going to the movie theater. 20 something dollars for a ticket is not worth it for a movie these days. It's wait for streaming. With that being said, get your $25 together and go see Spider-Man if you're a Marvel fan. Bebo says it's crazy that Kevin Spacey is getting roles again. Well, after a while, you can get canceled, but after a while, you can come back. Plus, you know what the thing is with Kevin Spacey? He went to court for all of his accusations and was found not guilty on everything, I believe, across the board. So it wasn't even that he got canceled. He got canceled by the court of public opinion. He was found innocent in a court of law with all the evidence presented, a judge, a jury, and he won multiple times. So with that being said, he should be able to come back to me if he went to court, pled his case, his accuser pled his case, and the court found that the accuser was not credible. I'm not saying he didn't do it, but if I went to court and won multiple times, and I'm saying, yo, man, I've had bad behavior, but can I come back? I'm innocent. I could see him getting a shot. Plus, he's a fantastic actor. Hopefully, he learned from his um, time away. Cutie Pie says William Dafoe is just a phenomenal actor in general. Yes, he is. Everything he's ever been in is dope. And the thing is, though, a lot of actors, major actors, and Oscar level actors, they shun Marvel. They consider Marvel movies like fast food, McDonald's, and they're like, they refuse. But then there's certain actors who have come and brought their, well, the money is exceptional, but they've come and brought their Oscar level acting talents to the Marvel world, which made it that much better. The guys like Michael Douglas, you know, um, there's a host of them that have really, Angela Bassett, that has really took the acting to another level because the good Marvel movies, the good ones, have really good stories. I remember Martin Scorsese was dissing Marvel like that's not real cinema, but it's real cinema. Maybe it's not real cinema to you, but there's some good acting and some good storylines in there. Jason Wall says woke and DEI are code words. Absolutely, they are. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. PBB said just by having a black person in a movie, some people will consider it woke. Yeah, but it depends. I think sometimes it seems like they try to have a multiracial cast just because. And sometimes I almost feel like they're trying to patronize me. Like I have to have black people in a movie, otherwise I won't watch it. Like for Marvel, when they had a black Human Torch, I think it was Michael B. Jordan. A few years back, they had a Fantastic Four with a black Human Torch, and I'm like, as a comic book fan, I read hundreds of Fantastic Four comics growing up. And the Fantastic Four is white, all four of them. I don't have a problem with that. Like, you don't have to force a black dude on me just so I can feel like at home. Sue Storm and Johnny Storm are brothers and sisters. So how could Sue be white and Johnny be black? Like, to me, that was forcing inclusivity on me. Um, when I see things like that in different groups, I'd be like, okay, y'all just doing this just because. But you're right. Sometimes if you just put a black person movie, they're like, it's woke. Like, there's black people in the world walking around, and it looks more realistic to have all kind of people. Like, if you live in New York, see, that's the thing too, PB. The New York and LA, Hollywood and television is based out of these two areas, but it does not reflect America. If you live in New York and you go outside, there's every nationality. The fact that the UN, the United Nations, is here in New York makes sense because if you go outside, it's like the United Nations. You see every culture all walking up and down. But most of America is not like that. Most of America is predominantly white. Or if there are black people, they're in one section of town, or Chinatown, Asian people are in one section. So to a lot of people in America, their world is all white. So when you put a black person there, they're like, why is this a black people in here? There's not black people walking around in real life to them, but in New York and LA, yeah. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. And they would consider that woke, and it's not woke. It's New York to me, or even the UK. But that's a very touchy topic because woke and DEI, they become code words for something that not what it was intended to mean and very vague. Because you could use woke and DEI, and when somebody steps to you about it, you can wiggle your way out of it real quick by saying, because the definitions are so vague now. Um, but yeah, that's a subject that I'm uh, very aware of. Bobby, you ever thought about going on a Jada and Joe podcast? I would love to. They haven't reached out. I don't know Jada Kiss at all. Never met him. Don't know him from Adam. But Fat Joe is my man. So maybe one day. Uh, let's see. Rid One says 80s Fright Night. Thank you. 80s Fright Night was the shit. Rosmel says, "Oh, you're so cool, Brewster." Yeah, that was funny. The new one, they had Brewster and his boy, but they had a different take on it. It wasn't the same as the 80s one, man. That 80s ones had a lot of one-liners. Um, Bebo says, I need to go see the Odyssey. Been hearing good things. Yeah, me too. And it's doing big numbers too. So that means, the word of mouth is good. I need to see that. And Tom Holland and Zendaya is in that too. Tom Holland is having a really great year. He's in probably going to be the two biggest movies of the year. Well, Avengers Doomsday is coming, but he's going to be in two of the top three or four biggest movies of the year, back to back in the same month. And he just got married. Life is good for Tom Holland, man. I'm behind. How far behind am I? I fell back a little bit. Let me move on. Yeah, David also asked me, did I ever meet Scoob and Scrap? Yes. Broken Wookie says, and the OG Clash of the Titans. Yo, if you ever see KRS-One in person and you want to make him laugh, bring up the OG Clash of the Titans. If you say let loose the Kraken, I'm giving up to I'm killing my brother right now. But if you say that when we was kids, Clash of the Titans and Jason and the Argonauts. We used to lose it when that would come on TV. Uh, oh, I didn't see this. KP, the upcoming posthumous Prince album is titled Timeless, a 10-track collection of rare and unreleased recordings spanning 4 decades. From 77 to 2016, it is scheduled for release on August 28th. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing that. Um, I think that's too big of a span, though. 77 to 2016. They should have did like 77 to like 87 and then broke it up. But the family is not letting off a lot of stuff in that vault. So, and I also think they probably don't know when things got recorded because 77 to 2016, that's his whole career. 10 songs from his whole career. Like his sound changed over the years. I don't know if that's going to sound good cohesively, but we'll see. I didn't notice Jason. Well, James Gow band, My Blood Runs Cold, did the theme song for Fright Night and immediately broke up after. They were like the #1 band in the world for a few years. Yeah, I did not know that. Um, let me move down a little bit. April 7th artwork. Hey, how you been? KP, I purchased the book, the audio version. Thank you. I had to hear it in your voice. I'm in the middle of the Hostro chapter. Oh, that's dope. Hilarious as fuck, especially about the piranha at your feet. No spoilers. I'm not going to say anything, but thank you so much. Uh, Broken says Magic was a cool dude. I need the book. Magic was cool in his later years. I don't know about in the 80s. Let's see. Kanye West stories. I've never met Kanye West. I've been I've seen him and KRS talking. I was standing there, but he didn't speak to me. Patrick West says, KP, you weren't a threat to Mr. Magic because you weren't an MC. Magic was only threatened by people with verbal lyrical skills. In the 80s, I think Magic by the 90s, hip hop was different. He had a show on Hot 97, but he wasn't that dude anymore. Y'all gotta understand, in the 80s, Mr. Magic, especially in the early 80s, he was the guy who was making and breaking records. He was incredibly powerful in the world of hip hop, being on WBLS in New York. And he abused his power. But in the 90s, he was just another guy on the radio, and he was a lot more humbler. Tracy says, I love the thing too. Thank you, Tracy. That movie was ill, man. Uh, let's see. Robot Scott said, now we have to solve the last Zodiac killer cryptogram. I was just watching something today where they were saying they don't believe that there was one Zodiac killer. They think like 3 or 4 crimes got linked to one guy. They're saying the guy who was sending the letters to the FBI and to the newspapers and to the FBI did one crime and took blame for a few crimes. Like it was a hoax. And he wasn't really as big as he said he was. And there was multiple people. I just saw that today. Don't know if it's true, but that's a theory. Um, not that far behind you guys. JoJo says, dang, $20 to see a movie in New York City is super crazy. Here down south, a movie will cost you 8 to 15 depending on when you go. Now here it's 18 to 20 something. Remember when going on a date to the movies? Now You go on a date with a young lady as a man, you take a young lady out, it's to two of y'all could be pushing $50, and then concession is probably 12 to 15 each. You could be pushing $80 to two of y'all, and then the movie don't be good. That'll have you tight. Rosamel said the only superhero movie that I'm looking forward to seeing is Avengers Doomsday. Yeah, me too. But I really wanted to see Spider-Man too. I was more looking forward to Spider-Man than Avengers Doomsday because I think they was gonna mess up Doomsday. Now some of the trailers that I've seen from Doomsday look pretty good actually. But based on the Thors that's just come out in a few years, think based on these Thors, Love and Thunders and all that, and that Ant-Man 3 and all this stuff, Fantastic Four, I'm like, I was not looking forward to any more Avengers. I would go, but reluctantly. But now, maybe I have a little more hope. Mike Rock says most of the movies these days are trash. Absolutely. Sinners is good. Yes, I really enjoyed Sinners. And the Academy enjoyed it too because they gave it a lot of nominations. Um, Sinners was very good to me. I saw that in the movies as well. KP, you should have your book animated into a movie instead of having actors, like how they do the Parliament and Rick James animation. I think the images should be captured better like that. That would be great. Though I'm old school, I would love to see actors act it out. Kenny, any Ice T stories? Well, funny you should ask. A, get the book. I go into great detail about Ice T. Two, I have an Ice T story on this channel about 2.5 years back. It's called Epic Fails Hollywood. No, I think it's Epic Fails West Coast. Epic Fails West Coast. Have a whole Ice T story on there. Shout out to Ice T. I have not seen him in a while, but he's a good friend of BDP. Um, Black Panther 3, David Johnson to play T'Challa's son, released in December 2028. I will go see that. I'm not jumping up and down, but I'll go. Halle Berry's Catwoman. I didn't think it was that bad as people say. It wasn't a great movie, but for what it was trying to be, I thought the villain was stupid. Um, the lady with the face, and it was her face was made of stone because of some makeup. Sharon Stone with the face of stone. I thought that was stupid, but I didn't think it was that bad. I think some of these Marvel movies that have come out in the past few years are way worse than Catwoman, to me. Broken says, "Hey, she looked good, but the film was bad." I think it was bad by those days' standards. Like I wasn't like, "Oh, this is the worst thing I've ever seen." I've seen worse movies. Oh, let me scroll down a little bit. I'm not that far behind. Spook Realm said cats in New York have said they never knew white people existed until they were old enough to leave the borough they were born and raised in. Yeah, if you lived in New York in certain hoods, you could go weeks, months without seeing a white person in certain hoods back in the day, not now. Now New York is super gentrified, but back in the day, yeah, that is a fact. And if you never New York has so much going on. stores and schools and things. You could live in a certain area and never need to leave that area. Everything you need, it could be in a 10-block radius. All the stores, we can get all your gear, your school, grammar school, junior high school, all in the area, the mall, basketball court, everything in one section. And you don't need a car. Let's see. Isaiah said, KP, did you ever see the documentary Founding Fathers, The Untold Story of Hip Hop? I don't know if I did, but I've seen, there's like at least 5 or 6, 7, maybe more, maybe 10 documentaries about the founding fathers of hip hop in the beginning. I've seen quite a few of them. I know the story for the most part. Um, and I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of the guys from that era. But no, I don't know which one you're talking about in particular. Uh, let's see. KP, that's Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger movie star John Wayne's son. I did not know that. I was a little kid back then. April 7th said, KP, knowing the beginnings and the journey you and your KRS had also gave me a new ear listening to Scott LaRock's Celebrity 3 song Advance. Your brother went off on that. Yeah, he was kind of flowing on that. I think if he had a different beat, it might have been bigger. You have got to advance. I have that acetate of advance. I think I have the test press and I have the actual acetate of that song. Fright Night's director went on to direct Child's Play. Yeah, Sarandon. He was married to Susan Sarandon. That's Susan Sarandon's ex-husband. Yo, I saw that Brittany Griner and her wife are getting a divorce today. Wow. They've been married for 8 years. Yo, Brittany Griner's wife might be the number one reason why Brittany Griner is still not in a Russian jail cell out in Siberia with like 6 more years to go of hard labor. Her wife fought and got on the president and Congress and fought to get Brittany Griner out of jail. Brittany Griner's been out for a couple years now, and they're getting a divorce. Uh, Sad to see. Well, first of all, I don't know anything about their business, so maybe it was the right thing to do. But um, seeing how much she stood by her in her worst moments, sad to see that a few years later it's not working out. I just saw that today. Any Suge Knight stories? I've had some that I heard, but I never met Suge Knight. I don't want to repeat things that I didn't see with my own two eyes. Let's see. Patrick Rob, before WBLS, Mr. Magic was on 105.9 WHBI, the same station as world famous Supreme Team, Awesome 2, Hank Love, and DNA. Jerry Bloodrock, rest in peace. Yeah. Late night rap. Rap was on late night, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning on public access radio. Hip hop has come a long way. Now we got billionaires. Rap in the early 80s would come on public access. That's the only way you could hear music. T. Dyson said, no movie in this country is $8. Or maybe down south, if you can catch a matinee half off, maybe. Concessions are ridiculous as well. Ridiculous, bro. That's how the movies theaters make the money. I was reading the other day, they don't make hardly any money on ticket sales. I think the movie companies and the theaters split it like 85-15 or something. So almost all of the money goes back to the movie companies. The way they make money is concession, which is wild. Riding Dirty Face, what up? Patrick Wise says a movie date used to be a cheap date, not anymore. Yeah, yeah. Yo, I remember when I was in college, my freshman year in college, I went with this girl to see Purple Rain. And I remember I only had enough money to pay for the ticket. I remember getting the ticket and then I told her you can't have any concession. Like you can't have nothing to drink, no popcorn, nothing. I only have enough money to get you in. And she just looked at me and rolled her eyes, but she was cool. She was cool with it, but looking back on it, I was wilding, wilding. Benny Joe says, I had no idea there was a video for Out of Here. I saw it earlier today. KRS was a limo driver. That's the second. Did you know that Out of Here had a first video that they spent a bunch of money on that nobody liked? And Chris didn't like it. The record company didn't care for it. It was a waste of the whole budget almost. There was a little bit of money left over. And Chris took the money that was left over and shot his own video, which turned out to be the Out of Here video that you see. That is with the last little bit of money left over. I've never seen the original. Patrick McLean, what up? Latrice Washington says, I like the concession experience. Yes, an experience when a pack of Twizzlers costs $7. Candy bar is like $10, something like that. King of Gun Hill. Is that Gun Hill Road? Who you think is the best rapper of all time? I don't think there's one best rapper of all time. I think there's a small handful of people that you can make an argument for. But I think there are rappers that are number one at certain things. So I think there's like six criteria that I look at. And there's nobody who's number one at all six. There's some people that's very good, almost the standard in a certain criteria, but then another criteria comes down. So I don't really have a number one. I'm not talking about my favorite. I'm talking about who I think based on what you can measure. It's very hard to measure music, but from what you can measure, how I see it, um, there's a small handful that you can argue for. Patrick McLean said, I just watched the new Spider-Man today. Yeah, me too. That's what we were talking about earlier, but I'm not giving any spoilers. I'm just saying go. Let me see if I can get this right. Slimes. I can't even pronounce this slime, but salute to you. I don't want to butcher your name. Patrick Wise says movie concession prices is what I used to pay for dinner on a date. Yes, I'm that old guy. Yeah, me too. Me too. Benny Doll says, when I was 6 years old, we took a class trip to see Superman 2, 1980. The TGE girl villain made me feel so. That's funny. Let's see. Silk Child says Supergirl bombed all three times in theaters. They just won't let it go. Like, I don't even know who greenlighted that. Why did you even think that was a good idea? Superman didn't do this. Last Superman didn't do that great. Who chose to do that? Meanwhile, the stuff that we like that you really want to see again, they won't put that right back out, but they'll put stuff you don't want. They'll spend money on that. Like for example, this Spider-Man that just came out. It's been 5 years since the last Spider-Man. Something like that. 5 years. Meanwhile, we've had a whole host of characters that we don't care about, whack sequels, all this money spent on that, but we can't get another Spider-Man in a more timely fashion. Not good, man. Divine says, I think Doomsday will be dope. That looks serious again. Avengers meeting Fantastic Four and X-Men. I wanted someone else to play Doom. However, I'll admit that Downey sounds completely different with the evil accent. Well, Downey is a great actor. I believe if anybody could come back and pull it off again, he could do it. And it might tie in why the face of Doom looks the same. It might be a tie-in. Not sure. I was not jumping up. Keep in mind, credit to Marvel, they just did a complete 180-degree turn because we were supposed to get Kang the Conqueror. Remember that? Just a couple years ago, it was Kang Dynasty that was coming. And because of Major's um his legal troubles, they jumped off of him and completely did about face, which I'm glad they did because based on I haven't watched the Marvel series on Disney, but based on Ant-Man 3, that was about to be a disaster. This guy was supposed to be the next great supervillain after Thanos, and he lost to Ant-Man. Nah. A Boogie says Brittany and her wife is deeper than Papoose and Remy. Yeah, Papoose held Remy down too when she was in jail. Bebo says her divorcing that woman is the saddest thing I've heard of since the guy who donated his kidney to his wife only for her to file a year later. Wow. That's the saddest thing I've heard. I've never heard that before. That's tough. Wow. I mean, you shouldn't be in a relationship if it's that bad and it's unhealthy. You shouldn't stay in it. But man, that's a tough one. Shout out to Fife Dog's wife who donated her kidney to Fife, who they got probably 2 or 3 more years to love each other because she did that. I always have a lot of respect for her for that. But yeah, Brittany Griner, that's I just saw that today. I was like, damn. Benny Dawes said all those years behind bars, Brittany Griner for a weed stick. That's ridiculous. Well, they were using her as a pawn. They definitely were gonna trade her for somebody else. That was the play all along. So they had to go through the whole process. She had to get convicted, and they gave her 9 years in a penal colony for a vape pen or whatever. But they got a really good haul. They got a really good guy, a horrible person who should have never been let out of jail, got to swap for Brittany Griner. I'm not mad that Brittany Griner got out of jail. If it was my family or me or my family, I'd have been extremely grateful for whoever they gave up to get my people out. But they gave up a lot to get her out. A lot. Um, Patrick Wise says back in the day, 70s, there were certain parts of Northeast Bronx that had white people didn't venture into and black people didn't venture into Italian neighborhoods. In Brooklyn, too, where I grew up, there were certain parts, I'm gonna stop Bensonhurst And parts of Bay Ridge, you if you were black, you couldn't go there when I was growing up. I mean, white people would have had a tough time coming to uh, Brownsville in East New York, Bed-Stuy. But I think a white person in Bed-Stuy had a better chance. It would have been rough for them, but a better chance than a black person in Bensonhurst. That's where Gotti and all them lived. Black people couldn't go there. It was rough going to King's Plaza. When I was 11, I got assaulted at King's Plaza by a white dude. I wish I could see him now. I just thought about that story just now. I should have put it in a book, but I didn't. When I was 11, was I 11 or 12? I was 11. That means Chris was 12. We went to King's Plaza in Brooklyn, which was at that point one of the biggest malls in the country, and it was brand new. And they were having a comic book convention there. So it was all of these vendors with all of these comic books at King's Plaza. Now keep in mind, I didn't have enough money to take the bus to King's Plaza. I can walk to King's Plaza from my crib in Flatbush, but it took like an hour, maybe more, one way. Me and Chris walked all the way. I was 11, he was 12, to King's Plaza to this comic book convention. And I remember Chris was a little ways from me. He was at one of the vendors. And I remember I had went up to the second level to look at, they had comic books on both levels. I went up to the second level, then I got on an escalator and I was coming down. This chubby white kid, I'll never forget, he had red hair, he was chubby. I was 11, so he probably was like, he looked like he was about 13, 14. I was 11. We were coming up the escalator, I'm coming down, and he just was looking at me, and I'm coming down. I wasn't even thinking about him. I was looking at comic books, trying to catch up with my brother, and I'm coming down, and he just turned and stole on me. Bow! Right in my ear, really hard. Just clocked me. I was like, oh, and I just remember yelling. And he just was saying something like, what you doing around here? Or get the fuck up from around here, or something like that. And you gotta say King's Plaza is at the end of Flatbush, but I can't remember what section that is. But it wasn't a section where black people really hung out. But after he hit me, I didn't do anything. I just was screaming and holding my ear as I went down the escalator, and he went up and went about his business. And I never forgot that day. I never forgot the look of hatred on his face as he was coming up the escalator. And I didn't do nothing. I'm 11. I'm going to see some comic books. And these are things that I wish I could go back in time. Because Kenny Parker now would have caused a whole scene. Not only that, but I would have called my brother. He would have came running back up the escalator, and we would have caused a whole scene in King's Plaza. But the Kenny Parker at 11, I just took the L. But I never forget that. And when you bring up Patrick Y, you talk about places where black people couldn't go. This is New York City in the 70s was straight segregated. I mean, I could go I could go. I don't really get. I try not to get too political on this channel. Every once in a while, I'll go in that direction. But things like this, I could really go in a direction because I have a lot to say about this. But if y'all want to go there, I will. But um, yeah, Patrick, why you are correct. You grew up in the Bronx. I said it was just like that in Brooklyn. People said the theaters didn't make any money until like the third or fourth week. Yeah, that's the deal. They don't get any money for the first 3 weeks, and then they make the splits become more even after the first few weeks. You are correct. Mike Rock says New York City and its boroughs are different. I believe there's no other city like it. New York City has 5 counties within its city limits. Yeah, and it's huge. Brooklyn is the fourth largest city in the world. Brooklyn in the whole world. And that's one part of New York. That's one of the 5 boroughs. You could live in Brooklyn your whole life and never see the rest of New York. There's parts of Brooklyn I've never seen in my life. I'm born and raised and never seen. Let me scroll down a little bit. I'm falling behind. Falling behind. KP, are you down with Welcome Back Carter? I used to watch that show every week. Any Rick James or Studio 54 stories? I was too young for that. Studio 54? No. Let's see. Isaiah says, KP, people became millionaires and billionaires over hip hop. Hip hop has fed more people and made more millionaires and brought more people into the music business, I think, than any other profession outside of selling illegal narcotics, which I don't consider a profession. Outside of our illegal narcotics, hip hop has fed more people. And keep in mind, all the people that got this money got jerked. So you got to imagine for every person that made $1 million, the record company made 10. But still, um, yeah, you are right. From where hip hop came from to where it is now is unbelievable. And the people who invented hip hop are still walking around, which is crazy. Bobby, should you do Vlad? Only for promotional purposes, like to promote my book, promote this channel. Oh, promote shirts for those that's just checking in. If you want to get a shirt, that's the logo. The link is in the description below. Just for promotion purposes. I'm not a big Vlad fan, but some things you gotta do to to promote yourself. Rosmel said, Dan, Kenny is Spider-Man's biggest fan. No, I love Spider-Man. I love comic books, but I like when stuff is done well. And I think, like, I loved Ant-Man. I remember when Avengers first came out, I'm like, yo, I hope they put Ant-Man in there. And I loved Ant-Man as a kid. And I didn't like hardly any of the Ant-Man movies. I thought they were too jokey. So, but I like Spider-Man. But I'm saying for people who are like me, who have been very disappointed in Marvel, I'm saying you should go see this one. I think I'm putting my professional movie opinion on the line. Joey says, I'm telling you, Ken, you got to watch both seasons of Loki to understand Loki and the direction Marvel was trying to go with Kane's storyline. Yeah, you're right, because I didn't see any of the Lokis. Um, yeah, you are correct. But from what I saw, I shouldn't have to see all of the Lokis on Disney to understand the Ant-Man movie. They should have summed it up nice enough for me to understand. I just thought it was not. I didn't get it. Kane the Conqueror. I was not afraid of Kane the Conqueror at all. I was terrified of Thanos. Icon says, I think Doomsday is going to be whack because what the F are the Avengers anymore? What am I going to care about these scripts? That too. I'm not invested in a lot of these people. I was invested in that original Avengers. Then they just added all kinds of people. Well, first of all, Spider-Man is not an Avenger to me, but I was glad he was in the Infinity Wars and all stuff. I loved it, but I don't consider him the Avengers. I consider these people in the peripheral, like Bucky. What is Bucky doing in all of this? Falcon is okay. Like some of these people, even in the original one, they're okay. But to me, the Avengers is Cap, Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, Hawkeye, Ant-Man, and the Wasp. That's the Avengers. To me, everybody else is like you could pluck them in and out. Um, you're right. Like I don't like the new Black Widow. I know they had to replace Scarlett Johansson, but eh, all of these kids with the powers of the like the young Marvels and the young Avengers, I'm not with none of that. The last Spider-Man was a hit, 600 million. Yeah, that's a hit. In comic book world, that's good, not great. But yeah, okay, let's call that a hit. You are correct. Not enough to put Superwoman out though. It's 9:31. We are in overtime, y'all. For those that's new to the channel, anything after 9:30 is considered overtime. This is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. Um, and normally I scroll all the way down to the bottom, which I'm going to do. I'm not that far behind, but I'm going to scroll down. Everyone says, I used to chill in spots in Philly where they said they never saw a white dude before. Yeah. Gotti was Ozone Park. Okay, true. Bensonhurst is where a lot of the Italian mob lived. Maybe not Gotti. You're right. Let me get my facts straight. Maybe not Gotti, but they controlled that whole area and they didn't want any black people over there. Def Rocker says white folks would do better in the black community because we're always welcoming others in. For the most part, I mean, New York was rough back in the day, and people who rob people, criminals, would if they saw a white person in a black neighborhood, that'd be like another person they got to get. You know, I think they would look at them as like, oh, they're definitely not from here. Like we used to robbing people from here, we definitely getting them. But if you're not a criminal that rob people, I don't think a white person would have a problem in the black area to me. But now a black person going into a white area, it just wasn't it, bro. You just knew there was going to be problems, man. Um, where am I at? I'm scrolling down later. I'm just trying to see. T. Dyson says New York seems pretty segregated now. I don't know. I mean, the hood Flatbush. I was in Bed-Stuy the other day. Yo, you wouldn't even recognize Bed-Stuy. The block that Biggie is from, it was now has a sign that says Christopher Wallace Way. There's a mural of there's two murals of Biggie on each corner. You'd be shocked to see who's strolling down the street late at night. Fort Greene, Fort Greene projects used to be so scary. Did I ever tell my Fort Greene project story on here? It's an epic fail. Used to be so scary. Now all Fort Greene, the rents studio was like 2,500, 3,000 for a studio in the hood. Yeah, Howard Beach was off the hook too. You didn't want to be in Howard Beach. Me and my friends got chased off of what beach was that when I was a kid? Reese Beach. We was in the wrong section and had beef. It's another wild story. I will tell you guys if you want to hear it. But anyway, I said, KP, any Albee Square Mall stories? No, I was at Albee Square Mall a couple of times. Actually, that wasn't even really a dope mall. Most of the so when I was in Albee Square Mall, most of the stores weren't even open. But that was a dangerous place, bro. Two places you did not want to go that had closed to get Albee Square Mall and Delancey Street. Dudes was waiting on you, man. Delancey Street was really Orchard Street off Delancey and Lower East Side is where everybody got your coats. There was like one strip that had like 10 or 12 stores. All the goose downs, leather gooses, sheepskins, everything was on Orchard Street. And everybody went there to get coats. And it was dope because there were so many stores. You go in one store and say, how much is a sheepskin? They give you a price. You'd be like, okay, I'll be right back. They knew that you was going next door, so they wouldn't let you leave. They'll talk you down. You can get a good price on clothes. Um, but as soon as you got your clothes and you came to go to the train station, it was over. Albee Square Mall was worse than that. All of them dudes from Westinghouse High School and all them dudes from Bed-Stuy, all of them used to be out there. That's where Biz met Kane at Albee Square Mall. I went there. That's in downtown Brooklyn. You should see Albee Square Mall now, y'all. You'd be shocked. We got a chat. Mike Rocks, what up? Thank you so much. Who is Dr. Leonard Williams, aka Tyrone Cash in the MCU? Shout out to Rewind Crew. I have no idea who Dr. Leonard Williams is. Tyrone Cash? Sounds like a black dude with the name Tyrone. I do not know, tell you the truth. All right, Rox, you're gonna have to fill us in. Any MC Hammer stories? No, I have never met Hammer. A Boogie says illegal drugs sell themselves. Basically, I never seen anybody with any advertisement. All you need to know is what block was hot, and that's it. Which borough had the flyest sisters, would you say? Queens, for sure. This thing cut off all the comments from before, so I'm not going to see them. Kenny, how do you feel about AI in music? Not good. Music should be created as a creative, anything art wise, I think should be created by humans. Not a fan. Uh, Riding Dirty says, saw a new Spider Man with my girl last night. Was I saw some Matrix like themes, to be honest. I thought it was great. Patrick McLean says Ant Man was kind of like a parody. Yeah, but he wasn't supposed to be. Ant Man is a serious Avenger. Go back and look at Avengers #1. Captain America wasn't even an Avenger. It was Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, Ant Man, and the Wasp. Ant Man was real, man. Donald McCall, you remember back in '86, Larry Davis popped six cops when they were trying to off him? Yeah, of course, everybody in New York remembers Larry Davis. As a matter of fact, Larry Davis was a club promoter and he booked BDP back in '86. When South Bronx and all that was out, Larry Davis paid Scott LaRock and KRS some money. Larry Davis was famous, but they did him dirty in jail, though. Them police beat him. Yeah, the crooked cops came to off him, and they would pop. They were shooting in his house, in his bedroom with his little sister. That they didn't care. They hit his sister, little kid, but he popped them first and got away. And he beat those charges. He proved in court that they came to get him. Yeah, Larry Davis, rest in peace. is a legend in New York. If Miles Morales doesn't appear in this new Spider-Man, I'm not paying to see it. Let's see. Tracy says OT. Last week we went into double OT. Rod and Dirty Face says only the punkers would roll around the rough sections of New York back then. Yeah, they was determined to get the real. Um, let's see. Gergen Ness says, I'm lucky. I've always lived in a safe neighborhood here in Queens, New York. We black people stick together. That's dope. Patrick McLean said Fort Greene is gentrified. Very, Patrick McLean. Very. Rosmel said Fort Greene is gentrified. I still got family there. You'd be shocked um, walking around Fort Greene. Shocked. You'd be shocked at the people walking around, and you'd be shocked at the prices. A white person, grown male, we would think is a cop. DT, yeah. You'd think a white person is a cop walking around. Um, let's see. Jason Wall says houses in Compton are like 800K now. Sheesh. Laugh out loud, KP, you probably sound like an old man to younger and current comic readers. Yes. You're definitely a 60s and 70s Marvel guy, which I consider the golden age of Marvel. Nothing wrong with that, though. Lots changed in 90s and 2000s Marvel's books. Yeah, I didn't read 90s and 2000s. I'm a 70s, 80s Marvel's guy, but I believe a lot of those stories from then still hold up. That's what made um those first Spider-Man so good. That's what made the early Avengers so good. They were taking the stories from the early beginnings, giving us the origin stories, giving us something for us to feel the characters. Then they went into this new stuff. It's cool, but yeah, you're right. I am an old school Marvel guy. The golden age. Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. I'm from that era. A Boogie says AI is doing too much. I saw AI doing the whole Tribe album to jazz beats on YouTube, and it probably took like 1 minute. Dirty Face says we liked it too. The X-Men crossover was boss. Don't spoil it, Dirty Face, but I'm with it. Robot Scott said, "What is the oldest comic book you own, KP?" I don't own any comic books anymore. I used to have comic books that were 10 cents. Few that were 10 cents. I had 12 cents comic books. 10 cents had to be 1961 and before. I had 10-cent comics, and then I think it went to 12 cents in like 62. And it was 12 cents up until like 1970 or something. Then it went to 15 cents, 20 cents, 25 cents, 30 cents. 30 cents was probably like mid to late 80s. I don't have any comic books anymore. Def Rocker says the Larry Davis was nationally known. A word? I didn't know that. I know in New York, he is he was a hero. Mike Rock says Tyrone Cash is the very first Hulk. This will be a good trivia during February. Really? What year? The very first Hulk before Banner? That would be great trivia. I did not know that. Did not know that. April 7th, when is your next Q&A for your book and when is your next guest? Don't know one either. I didn't plan on doing another Q&A. We had two. Unless people want to do a third one, I hadn't planned on it. Next guest, I'm working on that. Um, any crazy Fat Joe stories? Yes. I don't know if I want to tell them now. I'd be considered snitching. Shout out to my man Jetta, who's always telling me don't snitch. But I've seen Fat Joe in action. I'll say that. Absolutely. Um, Dirty Face says the last Emperor out of Philly did Secret Wars, a track that pitted comic character versus MCs. Classic. Everyone should hear it at least once. Wow. See, these Secret Wars and Doomsday and all stuff, this is past my comic book era, so it's all new to me. Ross says, I was able to count the amount of black people I saw on my way to a bodega on one hand in Fort Greene. Yeah, now, yeah. Harvey Lee said, what up, KP? Salute from Indianapolis. ATL is where I would say the new Brooklyn is. Yeah, I'm curious, where's everybody going when they leave New York? When New York gets too expensive and you get priced out of your where you grew up, where is everybody going? Bob says the first actual appearance of Superman in Action Comics #1 is up to 15 million. Didn't they just discover one? I don't know if it's Superman #1 or Action Comics #1. Like last year, they thought every one was accounted for, and they just somebody discovered one in like an attic, and it went for millions. Is it Superman #1? Man, I wish I could get my hand on one of those. Sheesh. Um, let's see. I'm at the bottom, y'all. We're in OT right now. This is the Kenny Parker Show. I'm at the bottom. Robot Scott said, I remember from comic book days one issue of Spider-Man from the 70s where the Green Goblin killed Spider-Man's girlfriend or something was worth big money. Yeah. Um, yeah, I remember comic books. Still, certain issues, certain comic books are worth big, big money. Um, imagine right now in somebody's grandmother's attic, there are comic books worth thousands of dollars sitting there somewhere. Could you imagine going through an old box or opening up something and seeing Spider-Man #1 or Avengers #1 or Superman? You lose it. A. Musamid. Everybody going down south. I left Brooklyn too. Shout out to Flatbush. Big up Flatbush. That's where I'm from. Um, yeah, everybody's going down south. Benny Dorset, I just heard Kenny say, sheesh. Is that what Scott LaRock said in Super Ho after two big butt females? Yo, Chris, I just seen two big butt females last night. Is Chris the one that says sheesh? He said, I'm on my way to Latin Quarters to find two more freaks. Word. I think it was Chris that said sheesh. Scott was like, he's on his way to Latin Quarters. BDP used to be thick in the quarters, man. Um, Any ATL stories? We did quite a few shows in ATL. I haven't been to ATL since the 90s, but back when I was the DJ for BDP, we did a bunch of shows in ATL. I think the last show we did in ATL that I can remember off the top of my head was Redman was on the bill. This is when Step Into a World was out, so that was 97. The creators of Superman went to my high school, Glenville. That's dope, Sydney Rhodes. Def Rocker says Nicolas Cage is a comic geek. He once lost Superman #1, but it was found worth over $1 million. Yeah, yeah. Imagine having money to just go to like them Christie's or one of them when them comics come up for sale, and you could just throw $1 million down on a comic. You got to keep it in a glass case after that. Dude's got crazy. Dude's got crazy money to just spend on craziness. Um, some New Yorkers are crossing the Hudson to Jersey, and the smarter ones are crossing the Hudson to Delaware to PA to live. Yeah, I have friends that live in PA, but Jersey, you mean they might be going deeper in Jersey because Jersey City prices are now equal to New York, downtown Jersey City. Benny Doyle said, I didn't know it was KRS that said sheesh. Just like I didn't know it was ICU on your slipping. This KP this KP podcast is fire. Yeah, that was ICU talking on your slipping. I believe I gotta go. I haven't heard Superhold in a long time, but I believe Scott said, "Yo, Chris, I just finished knocking the boots off these two big butt females last night." Sheesh. Yeah, I'm about to go down Latin Quarter to find more freaks, and Chris goes, "Word." Then the beat comes on. First time I heard Superho, I laughed out loud. And Chris said, go to the store to get some flowers. First time I heard that, I laughed. I literally laughed out loud. Philly, she said $1 million for a comic is insanity, but I suppose it's worth whatever someone is willing to bid for it. Yeah, it's like art work now, and it's rare. So there's not that many of them. And if you're a comic book head, that puts you in elite company when you have these comic books. Um, like people spend millions on art. You know, if you can get a basket painting or one of Andy Warhol and all these things, they're worth millions. You know, to each his own. If I had hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe I'd be into it. But um, let's see. I'm at the very bottom, y'all. So I'm seeing your comments in real time. Real time. Um, Sidney Rose says he was a superho. Um, I believe that first lines of that song are true. Chris said up in Rochester on DKX. He's talking about Chris and Scott went up to Rochester, New York to a radio station called WDKS to do a show, to do a radio interview. And some girl called up the station, like, you know, they get calling saying she wanted to meet Scott. And Scott left the interview and went off somewhere, if I recall. that story. I heard it secondhand, but KP, did you know Wesley Snipes planned to make a Black Panther film in '92, but the project didn't come to fruition? That's interesting. And he probably could have got the rights for nothing. Remember when Marvel, I think it was trying to sell the rights to all their superheroes and nobody wanted them? And Sony said, I'll take Spider-Man and the Hulk, I think, for like 15 million each, something like that. They were damn near trying to give away the farm and couldn't do it. Now look, Marvel movies are the biggest franchise of all time. Um, we're in OT, y'all. It's almost 10 o'clock. I'm going to jump off. We've talked mostly about uh, comic books today. um, and it's because I went to the movie theater to see Spider-Man. I kind of kicked it off, but um, it says WDKX is now, I have no idea. DKX, I have no idea. Maybe it's still on the air. Right, Rock says, yo, KP, these 2 hour joints don't seem that long during the rewind. Really? It doesn't seem that long to me right now. We're just talking. I just know we're at 2 hours. So before, when we first started, we used to do an hour. It's been about 3.5 years now. It used to be like an hour, and then it went to an hour and a half, and now we're at like 2 hours. Sheesh. Is the Flash in your top 5 favorite comic book superheroes? He's my number one. For DC, yeah. Remember when Flash raced Superman? I'm old, man. Um, what's in my top 5? That's tough. I used to like the original X-Men. See, I'm talking about the one with Iceman, the Beast. It was Iceman, the Beast, Jean Grey, the guy who used to shoot the Vision with his eyes, and I think this might have been before Wolverine. I used to like that X-Men a lot. All of them, Fantastic Four. I used to read anything I could. I really liked Spider-Man. I really liked Ant-Man. I didn't even really read Black Panther like that at all. Um, and then DC, I like The Flash. I like Green Lantern when I was growing up. They can't get the Green Lantern right at all. Do you remember the Fresh Fest? Of course I do. I wasn't there, but I remember it. Cindy Rose says another great show. Knicks championship extended the format. Baby, yeah. We did the Knicks live uh chats when the Knicks were on that run, and we went almost 3 hours. I like Daredevil because he didn't really have powers. Well, he had powers that radar that he has, but yeah, I like the more grounded characters too. I like Daredevil a lot. The man with no fear. I like Silver Surfer. He wasn't my favorite, but I liked him. I liked mostly everybody. If any comic book I can get my hands on, I'd be like, yeah. Jeff Rocker says I have two giant sized Superman versus Muhammad Ali, that book that came out in the '70s. That's funny. Who won? Thank you, Philly She. Philly She and Rosmel, y'all been helping me all day. Cyclops. Jeez. Could not get Cyclops out my mind. I used to like them. I used to like the Inhumans. Lockjaw. They messed up the Inhumans bad. Things have so much potential, man, and they just dropped the ball. The Disney Channel with Marvel was supposed to be dope, man. Like, look how there's so much stuff you could have done with Nick Fury. Like, you could have made Nick Fury really like James Bond, like have real dope Nick Fury movies. Instead, they made it stupid. I don't know. Daredevil can sense when you're lying. Yeah, he could tell when your pulse goes up, right? Oh, this is dope. I couldn't afford comics, so I read them in the shop. The owner just said, "Don't fold them and clean my hands." That's dope that he lets you do that, dirty face. That's dope. Shazam TV show was funny when I was a kid. Yeah, that was funny. I was with all of those um television shows. Remember how corny the Spider-Man was? He used to shoot practically rope. I think the Hulk was the best of those. Shazam was funny. You remember Isis? Actually, Wonder Woman was probably the best of those. Batman, a Batman. No, let me reframe. Batman was the best, followed probably by either the Hulk or Wonder Woman television show, in my opinion. It's after 10 o'clock, y'all. If I don't get thrown off, if somebody don't throw me off, I'm gonna go a little while longer. Um, those MCU movies were made by people that never read Marvel comic. It seems like it. Seems like it. Sydney Rose says that can't be Batman with Adam West is so classic. That's one of my earliest memories of watching television was watching Batman. I was like 5 or 6. Bill Bixby Hulk was the best live action superhero. Probably, yeah. But Batman was so classic with the boom, pow, smash. That was so classic. That's why I put that at 1. But Bill Bixby's Hulk was probably the best. Remember that reporter that used to couldn't convince anybody that there was a green man, a green giant? But I thought Wonder Woman was pretty good. Gergen, that's the same bat Kenny, same bat channel. See, all those lines, same bat time, same bat channel. All that was classic, man. City Roses, I used to run in slow motion like the $6 million man. Yeah, I might have done that. Sydney Rose. Yo, Lee Majors was married to Farrah Fawcett Majors. He had the hottest chick in the game wearing his chain. That Farrah Fawcett, when she was on Charlie's Angels, that poster was the biggest selling poster of all time, still to this day. And I think they got a divorce because Lee Majors wanted a regular housewife. He wanted Farrah Fawcett Majors, the biggest star on Charlie's Angels, to be a housewife. And it didn't work out, and they got a divorce. Remember the Bionic Woman? Wow, we really digging right now. We could really go there because I don't remember a $7 million man. No. Is that when it jumped the shark? $7 million man? I thought Wonder Woman looked good back then. Everybody did. She did. George Reeves' Superman used to come on. It was from the 50s, but it used to come on every day when I used to come home from school. That was a good one. Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. That was dope. Yo, Philly She said, I don't know a child that didn't run like $6 Million Man in slow motion. Yeah, that was it. Yo, y'all just brought back mad nostalgia. Yo. There was like 3 channels. Every show on these channels was like classic, yo. Robot Scott said, damn, dude had Charlie's Angel and Bionic Woman. Yup. He was living. Joey says, I didn't care for Adam West Batman, but Wonder Woman show was great. I loved Adam West Batman. To me, that's the GOAT show. But I loved Wonder Woman too. Oh, Steve fought the $7 Million Man. We're in double overtime, y'all. We are wilding right now. I love this conversation. But that's funny. I don't remember that, but I'm just thinking of how funny that probably was. We have the technology. We can rebuild him. Bigger, better, stronger, faster. Then the music. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, yo. Um, Ilroy, thank you. Said we had a serious barbershop debate about which Marvel superhero had the most power. It came down to Silver Surfer and Jean Grey. What do you think? Silver Surfer rides through space and like that board, he has enough power to like destroy a whole world, I believe. I mean, Jean Grey had like the psychic ability and could move stuff, but I would say Silver Surfer. And is Silver Surfer more powerful than Thor? I don't know. I would go Silver Surfer, but I could be wrong. That's why I said Silver Surfer doesn't have to eat or breathe. Yeah, he's out of space, bro. Rosmel said Silver Surfer. I'm leaning towards Silver Surfer. Kenny, what does bell bottom suit mean? Is that what Karis said in Out of Here? Me and Kenny couldn't afford that. It's bell bottom Lee suit, Lee jeans. The bell bottom Lees were the shit in like 79, 80. Bell bottom Lees, Lee suits. There's a whole suit, the top and the bottom. Uh, Rodden says, yeah, surfer. Then of course one above them all or whatever. Rich said, KP a real movie buff. I'm not a movie buff so much as that I was just in the house, bro, watching TV all the time. So like recurring shows would come on television, older movies and TV shows, and I would just sit there for hours and hours and watch TV. Um, so I would like remember a lot of these shows. A highlight of my life is meeting Jack Tripper in real life. Rest in peace. That was one of my favorite shows, Three's Company. See him in real life is ill. People sleep on Doctor Strange. They do. Doctor Strange could be the most powerful person in the MCU. You are correct, Tybo. We're in super double OT right now. Silver Surfer has the power cosmic. Yeah. Like how do you top that? KP and Demolition Man, Wesley Snipes played a ruthless villain named Simon Phoenix. I saw Demolition Man in the movies. Me, Chris, Miss Melody. Who was with us? It might have just been me, Chris, and Miss Melody went to the movies and saw Demolition Man, which I thought was great. And the funniest part about that was Wesley Snipes kept doing this all the time with his hand. I remember Chris came out the movie theater and Chris was like, "Yo, I'm gonna next time I come on stage, I'm gonna start rapping. I'm gonna do this like Demolition Man." And he was like doing it. We was dying laughing. There's a KRS-One Demolition Man impersonation out there somewhere. Yep, me, Chris, and Miss Melody saw that. You guys bring up stuff that just bring back crazy memories. Robot Scott said, I want to give a shout out to Starsky and Hutch. They tackle some weird ish on that show, like satanic witches. Yeah. I watch that sometimes when Hutch, I believe, got hooked on drugs and stuff. That's when it jumped the shark to me. I was like, I don't know. I watch that sometime. Huggy Bear was the dude on there. Buffalo Gal, what up? Salute. And they'll say Battle of the Network Stars. I used to come on Saturday, right? Oh man, you guys. We're double OT, y'all. Anybody still out there? Anybody still with me? Or we bugging right now? Hey, Boogie says, leaves with the permanent crease for real. Yes. I used to go to the cleaners and they would sew a permanent crease down the front of your pants. Those were the days. In all in my all in the children voice. Um Ryder said, yes, Simon Phoenix, best villain ever. That was a dope movie. Brooklyn Geek said, I seen that haircut Wesley had and still ain't seen Demolition Man. Demolition Man was dope, Brooklyn Geek. You should just watch that or some just, certain movies, you don't even take them serious. You just watch them just because. That's one of them just because movies. Watch Demolition Man. It's mad funny. John Ritter, did you call him Jack? No. Um, it was at Earth Day, I believe it was 1990 or 91. And BD, it was a bunch of groups on the bill, like Earth Day celebrations. Um, I think it was at Fox Stadium, Foxborough Stadium. Was it called that then? Yeah, because I remember two things. Two people I met, John Ritter. Everybody had a tent. There was mad groups on the bill, and we were the only rap group. And BDP had a tent, and this guy stuck his head in the tent. Hey, you guys, how you doing? I look, it's John Ritter. I'm like, oh, and he was like, he had these T-shirts he was giving out with some kind of like, save the earth, something like, save the world type T-shirts. And he was like, anybody want a shirt? I said, I'll take a shirt. And he was like, are you really gonna wear it? And I'm like, yeah, I'll wear it. And he said, okay. And he came and he gave me a T-shirt. And then he stepped off. So I got a T-shirt from Jack Tripper. And the second person we met that day, me and Heather always talked about that. She was there too. Shout out to Bully B. Um, was a guy walked up to us after the show and he said, really loved you guys' show. Um, I own this arena. And he's like, what do you mean you own the arena? He said, I own the arena. He said, I own this football team. I think he said he owned a hockey team and a basketball team. Like he named like 3 teams or like a baseball team or something. And I remember going, "You own?" He looked kind of young. He was like, "Yeah." And I said, "What's your name?" He said, "Kraft." Last name was Kraft. Don't remember the first name. His last name was Kraft. And the reason I remember that is because my dumbass, I said, "Like the cheese?" And he said, "No." He said, "Yeah, but those are my cousins." That's what he said. Kraft cheese, that's my cousins. And I was like, "Oh, damn, this dude is related to Kraft cheese." And I remember him, and he was saying that he owned the arena. Now, I don't know if it was the Kraft that owned all of the teams or if it was a son or something like that. But this guy I met named Kraft said he owned the whole arena. It was a stadium. It wasn't an arena. It was a stadium. It was like a big ass football field. He said he owned that and some teams. So I met a Kraft, could be the Kraft guy, and John Ritter on that day. That should be a epic win. I should have saved that story for my For the Win series that I'm coming with. That's a win. Meeting John Ritter and Kraft. Um, Buffalo Gal says, I enjoyed Happy Days. Me too. That's where Jump the Shark came from. That phrase. Everybody loves Happy Days. I, um, remember Joni Loves Chachi? They had the spin-off. Watched all. They tackled a lot of social issues on that show too. The Fonz was cool. The Fonz was beyond cool. The Fonz was like the definition. And he wasn't. They say he wasn't supposed to be on that show. He was supposed to be like a quick guest, in and out. But he was so popular that they kept him as a recurring. They gave him more of a role. KP, any SWV stories? No, I've never met any of them. Been in the same place and time with them. I was in a club and they were standing there, a couple of them, but I never met them. We're in double OT, y'all. I'm jumping off. Why would you do this, Joey Joe, and bring up my favorite show? You know why? Because you know this is my favorite show of all time. That's why you did this, Joey Joe. Kenny, you remember the TV show Cold Track the Night Stalker? Why? Why would you bring this up at 10:17, bro? Do I remember? That's my number one show of all time. When I was 8 years old, I believed that Kolchak was real. And I thought that he was somewhere in America solving these crimes with these monsters. Like, I really believed he was fighting like vampires and like zombies. I still have the DVD of the Kolchak movie, the Night Stalker movie, and I have the box set with all of the shows on it. No. Yeah, I do. Still. If I ever met Darren McGavin as a youngster, I would have lost it. I could talk about I could talk about the Night Stalker for an hour, but I'm not. I'm getting off this conversation I'm loving, but we're in double OT. Is anybody still even listening? Robert Kraft, Sydney Rose, but I'm not sure because Robert Kraft looks kind of old to me when I see him now. I don't know how old he is. This was like 90 or 91 because we did Earth Day twice. It's either 90 or 91. I think it was 90. And this guy looked young when he was talking to us. It could be Robert Kraft. This guy said he owned everything, so I'm saying it is, but he definitely came up to us. Mark G says, "Sup, Kenny, could you shout out my partner, Sharon P? We are tuned in from London. Big up London. She would love that. First of all, Sharon P, what's up from the Kenny Parker Show? We're in double overtime, Sharon. I know it's like 5 o'clock in the morning or something over there. We're bugging in OT talking about old television shows. Um, and London is my favorite place to travel in all the world. I love that place. Hope to get there again soon. But what's up, Sharon P? Uh, let's see. Rosemont said, I thought Henry Winkler was dead. No, he's still alive. Did anybody punk the fines? Never. The only person I ever even seen give the fines any grief was really Pinky Tuscadero, right? Y'all remember Pinky Tuscadero? I'm digging right now. I'm not even gonna say who she is. Y'all, anybody out there knows who I'm talking about when I say Pinky Tuscadero. That's all I'm gonna say. Yo, Brooklyn Geek said, I had a brown leather when Happy Days was on. I used to walk into class like, hey, every day. You couldn't tell me I wasn't Fonzie. Fonzie might be one of the most popular television characters of all time. I just don't think there's a bigger television star than Fonzie was in my lifetime. I'm jumping off in a second, y'all. I'm just getting um these last comments. No, Mike Rock says, remember the episode of The Monsters about the black boy in it? No. I remember the Happy Days with the black boy in it. MK Ultra says, we in here, KP. Thank you, because I know we reached a point where I know everybody's probably getting the hell out of here. But y'all bringing up some of my favorite shows I can't get off. Did you ever watch It's a Mad, Mad World? Had a plethora of comedians. No. KP, any full force stories? One, I was in D&D and Bow-Legged Lou was there. This had to be, I was working on Heather's album. This had to be like 95, 96. And he came in the studio and he saw me. He's like, yo, what's up? Hey, how you doing, man? I thought he knew me. And he stuck out his hand. And when I shook his hand, he had a buzzer, one of those prank buzzers in his hand. And went zzz. When he shook my hand, everybody was laughing. I was like, this dude really got like jokes, like Abbott and Costello jokes. That's the only time I ever met Bow-Legged Lou was that night. And Dell says, KP, Night Stalker was the ish. Yo, Night Stalker was the greatest, bro. The greatest. The Fonz had a black friend that he befriended. Was he Sticks? Was that the musician? Pinky was Joni's friend, I think. Nah, I don't think Pinky was Joni's friend. Joni was younger. Pinky is the same age as Fonzie. We're at the very bottom. All right, I'm jumping off. I'm at the very bottom. I'm seeing comments in real time. I'm having a blast on here. You guys got me talking about just old shows. Lindell says, I'm still here. We have jumped the shark. Oh, yeah. Philly, she said, I was just about to say Pinky. Pinky was dope. Pinky's the only person I ever seen that got Fonzie out of character. Um, Fonzie always wins in the end, always. All right, y'all. I am jumping off. Oh, Tracy said 75 in the chat and 75 likes. Yes, all here. Mate, that's dope. Thank y'all. Thank you so much. This is the Kenny Parker Show. Um, I had some good laughs today. Um, y'all guys brought up some shows that made me feel good. Spook Room said good looks again, KP. Doesn't get any better. Thank you, Spook Round. Um, yeah, this was funny. Yeah, everybody, Buffalo Girl says everybody have a great weekend. Please do and have a safe weekend. And I hope to see you guys again Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This might be the longest Kenny Parker show ever. Um, Mike Rock says Pinky came out of nowhere. Yeah, pretty much just out of nowhere. She was just the girl. She used to snap her fingers. Oh my goodness. Same back time, same back channel. I'm gonna leave it right there. Let me make this smaller. Make sure I got in all the chats. Did I get all the chats in? I did. All right. We out of here, y'all. Peace.